Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Run.Down. I'm your host, Tyrese, joined by Schwinn. Knicks lose to the Cavs, 108-102. Very interesting game where the Knicks held a 23-point lead at one point. They fumbled that and kind of completely melted down in the waning moments of the fourth quarter. Very questionable play from Josh Hart. I think very questionable rotations. Uh, I'm not going to worry too much about the result, but I don't like a lot of the process that happened in this game. So, and there's a decent amount to talk about from it. Um, Schwinn, do you have any thoughts just before we begin?
Um, I mean, there's really nothing to say that we haven't talked about because nothing is new about this team. The same thing every game. The only changes is basically based on personnel available. Um, you know, we played a game last night where Hart didn't play and Anobi didn't play, Mitch didn't play, and rather than try anything, we just played PJ Tucker 27 minutes. Precious Chua played 39 minutes. Um, we don't learn anything. There's nothing to learn. Like there's really nothing to talk about. What is there to talk about? Like we've watched this same fucking game 81 times so far this season. It's the same shit every game. Um, there's no repercussions for anything. Josh Hart. I mean, look, I don't care that he didn't play. I'm fine with them not playing Hart. Like it's not a problem for me. So if Hart isn't playing well and he's not playing hard, and you have Shamit who hits 5 threes, Deuce hit what 4, 3 or 4, whatever it was. Um, if you're ever going to just try something, this was the perfect time to be like, all right, Josh, this game doesn't matter. One literally doesn't matter, right? All of the playoff matchups are set up now. Our seeding was determined. Why not close with Deuce or Shamit over Josh Hart this one time? This one time, just try it. Just try it. And instead, it's just we close with our starting five. When Towns is back, Towns he'll be the five, obviously, and not Mitch. So they'll probably score more points, and they'll probably give up more points. Um, but nothing will change. Like we're not gonna run anything different. I mean, just as like a stupid example, or not even a stupid example, but like the Cavs obviously do not play zone deep a ton. It's not like they're not like running out or something. It's for hot early in the game, and they just threw it out there as a curveball for a few possessions. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect. I don't think that it was super effective, but it's just the idea of trying something new has a value. I mean, Jalen Tyson played tonight. He's fucking terrible. He's a rookie. It makes sense he's not good. But like you just gave him a chance. Like we don't even do that. There's nothing that happened. Like again, you didn't even try Dottier or McCullough last night, or Kolek. Kolek's disappeared right as soon as campaign got back. He's basically nailed to the bench again, and it's not because I'm not going to sit here and do like oh my god Tyler Kolek, look at his numbers, and like I don't think that he's solves anything for the Knicks necessarily this season. But I would just like to see him get a chance because campaign's been terrible for like a long time now. He's just not been good for a while. And he basically only plays well when he's on the floor with Karl Anthony Towns. Like just try anything. I mean, Delon Wright, look, credit to Tibbs for giving him a chance, right? Starting him when Campaign and Brunson were out. But as soon as they got back, he's nope, you're DNP-CD. Not even gonna get a chance. Like nothing changes. Um the the how a guy plays during a game doesn't seem to matter very much in terms of dictating their minutes or anything. Apparently, the fact that the 3 seed was locked up by, I mean, basically halftime because the Pacers were down by like 78 points. Um, didn't give anybody a chance. And yeah, I mean, so we can discuss this and pretend that anything is new here and there's all kinds of different things to unwind and everything, but there really isn't. Like we know what this team is. they should win the first round series against Detroit. I don't know why anybody's supremely confident they will, because they've done nothing in the last, I don't know, 2 months to inspire any level of confidence. Um, but even if they win that series, like, I'm sorry, they're going to get destroyed by Boston. It's going to happen. Like, I know that they had a really nice effort anyway on Tuesday night against Boston, and they certainly competed and whatever. But I don't see any reason to believe that that'll be a competitive series, and I don't think that there's any reason to believe that Tibbs would adjust to anything that occurs as the game unfolds with this roster, because he hasn't done it all season. Like, again, the Josh Hart thing, like, look at my handle. I truly believe this. Like, Josh Hart has obvious, very, we know what his deficiencies are as a player. That becomes so much more annoying when he gets treated like a superstar, like he's LeBron James or something. Like, we got to have Josh on the floor. And it's like, I don't know. The best way I could basically sum up everything I think that has just been off with this team, and why I think Tibbs has his fingerprints all over kind of the weirdness of how this team has performed this season, is he seems to have decided early on in this season, probably basically since last season, but Josh Hart has to be on the floor closing games. Josh Hart is the key, the linchpin to bring balance to this team, or something along those lines, because that's how he's been using him, right? He has determined that. He determined that prior to the season, and every decision he makes, it is because that is the end point. That is the ultimate conclusion he has reached. So when you watch Josh Hart in the end of a fourth quarter, and you're like, well, why is Karl Anthony Towns and why are these guys just standing around spotting up on around the perimeter while Hart sets the screen? It's because teams aren't defending Josh Hart on the perimeter. So how do you bring that guy? How do you make the center, who basically every team is defending Josh Hart at center, how do you make the center have to kind of actually defend the play and not be able to just roam and play free safety? Well, you have to use Hart as a screener, right? That's the kind of adjustment that Tibbs has made. But the problem is then it relegates other guys who are probably better equipped to being more dynamic offensive players down the stretch of a game, into sacrificing effectively for the benefit of having Josh Hart on the floor, which currently has not been much of a benefit for the Knicks, because he's been a mess offensively, at least since the All-Star break. And defensively, he's had issues all season, which we've all talked about and know and have discussed at length. And when you just see that over the course of the season, and like tonight, I mean, again, you already know Mitchell Robinson obviously is not a threat anywhere outside of, the fucking restricted area, right? So when you have him and Josh Hart on the floor, and then you're not even using Hart on ball, really, right? Because you're going to put the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands, which makes sense. The paint is just so clogged. I mean, there was one possession late in the fourth quarter where McCall turned the corner on, I don't know who the fuck was guarding him, maybe Garland or Strus or whatever. I think he was on Garland. He turns the corner on Garland, but then Strus is right there. Strus is just, so he can't go anywhere. He gets walled off. He has to throw it back to Brunson. I think Brunson ended up making some bullshit shot on the play. So, whatever, worked out, I guess. But, the point isn't like, not making, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Bridges has been some fantastic player, or that OG Anunoby's perfect, or Brunson has never made a mistake, or whatever. But that just sums up to me everything that has been weird and off-putting about this season and how this group has developed over the course of it, because there really hasn't been any development, right? We saw teams kind of adjust to Josh Hart being able, or just basically being like, we'll give him a shot. We'll dare him to shoot. We'll leave him wide open. That happened around January. And since that point, I don't really see any pivots the team has made to adjust for that. It hasn't cost him any minutes. It hasn't cost him his place in the closing lineup. And they're, maybe I missed it, but I don't recall him setting any like off ball screens to open up another shooter or anything like that. I didn't see that either. So you don't see much of that.
It's rare. Like it's really rare for him to like do that stuff. Usually when he's setting screens, he's in the primary action, where it's
Right.
like
And so
he has the ball and then like he tosses it to a ball handler, he sets the screen, and it's like Why isn't he used to set drag screens? Why isn't he being used as like again like just like an off ball screener? It's just been very uncreative usage of Hart. Like there are ways that you can punish teams for having a big on him, and I think they were able to do that earlier in the season. But since like the shift to 2025, it's just been very lazy, very formulaic, and a lot of the time when Hart is having those really massive games, it's just due to like effort more than anything.
Yeah, and his effort has not. Let's be real about what this is. Like Josh Hart's effort has not been like awe inspiring this season at all. Like it really hasn't. And sorry,
You're forgiven and
but
muted.
like they they don't. I don't know how else to put this. There's such a obvious complacency in him this season that is so antithetical to the player that we saw for the first 1.5 years that he was here. Because he doesn't have to fight for anything. What does he have to fight for? He can play like shit. He's gonna close. He can pass up shots. He fucking traveled today on a wide open corner three that Brunson set up because he was mortified of taking the fucking shot. Like there's no repercussions for this stuff. He is not held accountable, and this stuff seeps in everywhere. Once you let that shit come into your locker room and there's no repercussions for anything, um, that's a problem. And like, look, we talked about it when Julius Randle was here, right? Like the entire 21-22 season, it was like, all right, look, I get like he's your most important player here, but you can't just be a gigantic asshole and play like shit and not try on defense, and there's never anything done to that. At least in the case of Julius Randle, um, like you kind of had to live with it and you understood it, right? Because he was like the engine of your offense for whatever that's worth. And then even when Brunson comes, right, he's like your second option. So you kind of are obligated to ride or die with him, right? No matter what. Josh Hart is not that player. He's not that important to your offensive ecosystem. I'm sorry. And no other coach in the NBA, not a single other coach in the NBA, would allow Josh Hart to get away with the stuff that we've seen this season in terms of his defensive focus, his defensive effort at times, his unwillingness to shoot threes. And at some point, I don't blame Josh Hart because why should he try? Why should he do anything different when everything the coach is messaging to him is you're good. We're happy with everything
Also,
you're doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's burnt the fuck out. I mean,
Yeah, he could be.
aside
Yeah.
aside what as soon as injuries happened, Josh Hart went to playing like 42 minutes a night, and that was in the regular season. And then the playoffs came, and we all know what he was doing there. And then to go into this season, and now he's averaging 38 minutes a night. Like he's just played a ton of minutes the last year and a half. So I think with him, the best he's played, like the mental focus, has been when his role was around 30 minutes a night. And sure, he would get extended for some run, but he would also be in a situation where he gets to come off the bench, he gets to kind of feel the game out, so on and so forth. He's I do think that like he's been struggling to focus and such, but I think he's burnt the fuck out. I really do think he's burnt the fuck out, and now he's got to go into another playoff run where he's going to play probably over 40 minutes a night. Like, this dude is tired. This dude is tired, and he knows, like, obviously he's a competitor and he's a professional. He wants to play, but this coach does him no favors, and that's the problem too. Like,
Also, why does it matter that Josh Hart never wants to come out of a game? Like, who gives a fuck? What player actively campaigns to like come out of a game, right? Nope. Almost, you get like these weird losers who will like, like Jimmy Butler in Miami this year, where he's just quiet quitting, right? He's like obviously not interested in playing basketball for them. But that is a different scenario. But any normal motivated player who's happy in a situation on the team that he's on isn't going to want to come out of a basketball game. That's not a compelling reason to be like, well, Josh never wants to come out of a game, so okay. Fuck, you think Deuce wanted to come out of the game tonight? Shamit? These guys, like, but they can come out of the game. It doesn't matter. Like, you think of the Shamit thing yesterday. He plays well, and then he just disappears in the game. And it's like, you see this shit all the time. Like, I don't understand it. And I hate that it has gotten to this point where it's like I actively am like watching Josh Hart play, and I'm like, dude, this guy is fucking miserable right now. But I mean, he's not being helped at all by his coach. Like part of any coach's job is to like react to not just in game, right? Not just what is happening in the course of the 148-minute game, but trends over the course of a season. And we've seen Josh Hart for the better part of 2.5 months or whatever, pretty easily, in my opinion, be the Knicks' worst starter. And in many games being outplayed by a guy like Deuce McBride. And, look, do I think playing Deuce McBride over him guarantees the Knicks win tonight or like changes the entire calculus for the team over like what their ceiling is this season? I don't know. I don't think that. But if Hart's just going to play bad as he's been playing lately, and then not just is he not like it's more than just playing bad, right? You're actively allowing teams to load up and pack the paint and load up on the ball, and it just makes everybody else's life harder. I mean, I don't know what else to say after a certain point. I mean, like the Boston game, the fucking overtime, it's just fucking every possession is Josh Hart screening for Brunson, Josh Hart screening for Brunson, Josh Hart screening for Brunson, and it's like, it would be okay if think about this. The last game Brunson played before he got hurt, right? It was that Lakers game.
Yeah.
What were we doing down the stretch of that game in the end of the fourth quarter and overtime until Brunson got hurt? It's the same thing.
Brunson ISO, Josh Hart screen for Brunson.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it was. And it's like, so you had to play this 15-game stretch, whatever the hell it was, without Brunson. Other guys stepped up, right? We saw OG obviously step up. We saw Bridges step up. And there's this idea of like, okay, well, like this was good for the Knicks. And I think it could be good for the Knicks because now we've seen these other guys can do some shit with the ball, even late in games. And you had to develop different things you do or whatever. But there's really none of that. I don't know. I mean, I don't really see us. I don't think it's changed very much. I don't think Brunson's come back and now it's like you're blending all of these things together. And I understand that would be, look, they have what 5 games basically since when Brunson got back. So, maybe it was always going to be a steep hill to climb. But like the fact that was kind of like the silver lining people were hoping for is just ludicrous because why would we hope? Like, why would you think that was going to happen when we had seen 62 games or whatever the hell it was before Brunson got hurt, where none of that had happened? Like, there's no indication that any of these things that we hope will happen will occur because they haven't all season. So I don't know. Yeah. So if you ask me like what my takeaways are from this game, I mean, my takeaways are the same takeaways I've had forever. Like there's no deviation in what we do. So we kind of know what to expect from this team. Cleveland has destroyed us in the paint this season in 3 of the 4 matchups. And part of the reason that's the case is because they are very happy to simply treat Josh Hart as a non-floor spacer. And, when you don't have Cat, that makes the offense even harder. And even when you have Cat, it's not like that changes anything. I mean, again, I've said this before, but we literally traded for Cat. Part of the value of having Cat is that you can play 5 out. And we've gone through most of the season not actually ever playing 5 out because Josh Hart is on the floor with Cat for what, like 80% of their minutes or something, like 80% of Cat's minutes. I don't know. It just, there's no attempt at doing anything different. We can have the same conversations over and over again. We all know everybody has their own conclusions. I don't think, I don't know how many more times I can say, I think Tibbs has basically done everything he could possibly do in New York. And he is not the one to push this group over the top. He's not the one to take them to a championship. And I personally do not feel that we have seen this team have an actual chance to achieve its potential and hit their ceiling because he hasn't really attempted to do so because, again, like you can sum it up by he determined that Josh Hart was an absolutely vital piece that needs to be on the floor at all times, basically as important to him as Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony Towns. And everything that we do is working from that backwards. And, again, you're not going to, you can't really do anything. Like, what else are you going to change, right? You're not going to change anything else. So I don't know. It's kind of a boring team, and I think it's safe to say that this is probably like the most bored I've been watching this team under Tibbs, because you don't have much young talent, and if the young guys that you have obviously don't play really, um, whether that's right or wrong, you can feel however you feel about that. And we don't try anything new. So, at least in 2021, 22, when we, a lot of people, myself included, obviously, thought Tibbs coached an atrocious season. At least even then, right? You're like, okay, well, like Quickly is going to get minutes off the bench, and Grimes is going to play a little bit in his rookie season, and you could still talk yourself into these young guys being able to show flashes, and that was still something to latch onto, kind of as that season wound down. I don't really know what there is to latch onto right now. We're like, okay, let's win a playoff round. Like that's kind of like what we're hoping for at this point. I don't know a single person that should think or does think that this team is really going to like all of a sudden get to the second round against Boston, and assuming they get to the second round, which I don't know why. Again, I don't know why anybody should have the confidence to assume that. That we're going to get to a series against Boston, and all of a sudden,
Flip a switch.
like things are going to change, and if Josh Hart plays poorly, Tibbs is going to like all of a sudden bench him or sit him, or cut his minutes or whatever. Like, there's just no indication of any of these things. So yeah, I mean, I think this team's story to me is basically written. They'll either win in round one or lose in round, or I mean, hopefully they don't lose in round one, but they'll win in round one and get smoked by Boston, or they'll lose in round one and be one of the season's biggest disappointments.
Yeah. Yeah, it just kind of feels like it's been a lot of the same conversations for the last couple of months. Um, so I don't really see much point in like rehashing these topics. I agree. I do think that Tips is probably on the way out. I think the team just seems checked out. They just don't seem engaged, and I feel like part of a coach's job is to galvanize his guys. And he just has not done that. He hasn't hit the bus. He hasn't hit the buttons he needs to hit for this team to be successful this year. And he has to show an ability to experiment, an ability to adapt to changes, to how teams defend, to tenets of spacing and offense that are necessary in today's NBA. And if you don't have a coach willing to do those things, then you have a very mundane coach. He's been around 5 years, and there just hasn't seemed to be like anything that shows that we're remotely close, aside from roster construction. I think the front office has done a lot of his heavy lifting in terms of giving him the talent necessary to field these 50-win rosters and get these playoff wins. It just kind of seems like he is utilizing the talent at hand rather than making the talent around him better. And yeah, it's just very uninspiring. It's very formulaic. It's very aggravating to see how much talent this team has be utterly wasted. And yeah, I wish I had more of an opinion, but it just kind of feels like you're going through the motions. As a fan, it feels like I'm going through the motions, so I can imagine how the team feels. Because I don't think this team has confidence in beating Boston. I don't think this team has confidence in beating any of the contending teams. So
Yeah. I want to read this. This is from Max Strickland Baseball Enjoyer in Discord. He posted this in our Discord. Brunson and Mitch played 7 minutes and 49 seconds together without Hart on the floor tonight. They had 156.3 offensive rating, 100 defensive rating. Brunson, Mitch, Hart played 21 minutes and 46 seconds together on the court tonight. They had 122.5 offensive rating and 146.2 defensive rating. Now, look, one game sample sizes are what they are, right? It's they swing heavily. But like, this just kind of matches up with everything we've talked about, right? Where you're like, dude, like Josh Hart's great. Like, maybe you don't need to play him all the time. And, on a night like tonight where he clearly didn't seem very interested in playing basketball, let one of these depth guys who wants to play. Like that would be cool. Honestly, this last game of the season, I don't want to see a single fucking starter on the floor. I mean, Bridges can play his he can come in, start the game, and then pick up a foul immediately and sit down to keep his Iron Man streak going. But I don't want to see any of these guys play. I don't want to see Mitch on the floor. I don't even want to see Deuce on the floor. Just I don't give a shit about anybody else. They can just I don't care what lineups Tibbs has to put out there. Put a bunch of crap out there. I don't care. I'm not interested in wasting, anybody's time pretending this last game of the season matters by playing anybody that should be in the playoff rotation. Let Precious Chua get fucking 48 minutes for all I care. But yeah, I don't know.
You don't know that. You don't mean that.
I
Precious Chua 48 minutes is nasty, even in a throwaway game. We have children to think about. Okay, you can't show the kids Precious Chua minutes.
I am just.
Yeah.
It's just. I don't know. It's like you said. Like I feel checked out on this team. I think a lot of people feel checked out about on this team, and that's I don't really have any. I can't blame anybody if that's how they feel because they deserve it.
Yeah. Go through comments. I don't know about you guys, but you're concerned about how they round up this team during the offseason, saying I think Tip survives, but I'm still prepared for us to flounder in the postseason. I think if Tip survives, then then I don't know. I don't know. If Tibbs comes back next season after the way you looked woefully unprepared this season and how I think a lot of us think the playoffs are going to go, then I can't wrap my head around it because nothing this season has been encouraging in terms of a championship chase. I think when you look at a lot of coaches that are on the league being fired, I just saw Michael Malone get fired. And that guy was a championship winning coach 2 years ago, has consistently won 50 games. And he got fired. Tibbs just strikes me as like a Dwayne Casey type. And Dwayne Casey at least had more success being able to get to the conference finals. But yeah, I just look at Tibbs and I go, you've been here for 5 years. This team is going to be a second round exit. 3 of the 5 years, 3 years straight. So it's just kind of hard for me to get encouraged about it. Yeah. John Leary, Tibbs would never change. This is on Leon now. Is he too loyal to Tibbs? I don't think so because I do think he was ready to fire him in 22-23 before the Knicks went on that win streak and the Knicks were able to kind of turn the season around. So I don't think it's a matter of not being able to fire him. I do think there's probably an option for him to maybe be in the front office instead of being a coach. And you kind of just chalk the extension up to, hey, we'll do right by you because you got us to this point. But I don't really worry about Tibbs not being willing to fire him. John Leary again, for what it's worth, Piston fans are very confident in their chances against us. I think Pistons fans are allowed to be confident in their team. I do not share the same kind of confidence in the Pistons. I think they have been a good story. I do worry about their offense. And I do think the Knicks should be able to win that series, and I don't think it'll be as difficult as many believe it'll be pundits and Twitter minds alike.
I mean, Pistons fans should feel confident in their chances against us. They've beaten us 3 times this season. This last one, whatever. I don't care that much about the result of that game, but the 2 they dropped at the Garden were both really frustrating and honestly pretty poor losses. And they were the type of losses very early in the season that I think were very, very concerning in ways that have now been issues and where they're headed. Uh, I don't know. Whatever. I don't know what else to say.
Next analytical department has to been Tibbs' flaws. I think they do. I just think Tibbs ignores them for the most part because I think if he cared about lineup data and he cared about all these things that he says he cares about, then you would see vastly different rotations and deployment of players. I don't think he cares as much as he says he does.
I mean, it's every coach has flaws, so that's not really the concern. The concern is nothing changed at all over the course of the season. And that's actually something in past seasons where he has made changes to the rotation or whatever that have been successful and helped the team over the course of the season. Last year was obviously a little bit different, but in 2022-23, we saw that. We didn't see anything this year. So, I mean, every coach has flaws. I'm sure they're keenly aware of Tibbs's. But yeah, this season has been pretty. Look, if this is your roster, mostly right, if these are the core pieces of your roster, we can sit here and talk about how do they round out the depth or whatever. But end of the day, if these are your core pieces, I think it's very obvious Tibbs is not the right coach for this team. That's it, point blank,
Yes.
very simple. Sorry. Hawkeye 420, John. Every team's fan base licks their chops when they see the Knicks. Yeah, there's also something to be said of like this team is now kind of like has a target on its back, and I don't think they have responded to that well this season. That's 100% true to me. Like Detroit clearly views us as like a measuring stick team for them. They get up for those games, and the Knicks have not matched that in 3 of the 4 games. Right? They smoked the Detroit the first time. They embarrassed them. And then the 3 games since then, at some point, they've just been outplayed, out hustled, and outthought even against Detroit, which is pretty concerning. But yeah, I mean, you got to step up to that challenge. Like when teams view you as kind of a coveted scalp, let's say, and the Knicks have not done that this year, and they have not responded well to the kind of raised pressure that this season brought.
I agree. Yeah.
Kevin Pierre has been so boring watching the same process from Tibbs. I feel it's checked out as this roster has looked. I've been looking at free agents and keeping my mind of players that fit this rotation. Yeah, I sums up exactly what we've been talking about.
Yeah. I just kind of feel like I'm looking forward to seeing how they tweak the roster more than like the playoffs and everything.
Yeah.
I think where excitement last year was like the favorable bracket and everything. But yeah.
Yeah. Going on. Hawkeye 420. We know they're bottom of the league in 3-point attempts and 3-pointers made. The beat claims Tibbs wants them to shoot, and yet a historically great shooting big man barely shoots threes. Who is lying? Is it really Cat Issue or Tibbs? Look, if you really care about getting 3-point volume up, then Josh Hart wouldn't be playing as much as he is. It's that simple to me. Pure and simple. Like it really is that simple. If you truly cared about upping the volume of threes you're taking, Josh Hart would play less than he is this season. That's it.
Yeah, like Landry Shamet would be getting 6 minutes in a game. Basically, like one stretch where he's like, okay, maybe you hit threes, and then you get to play another stretch in the second half. There hasn't been anything that indicates that he wants to play for spacing. Um, he has played. He's played fucking Josh Hart and Precious Achua together. He's played Josh Hart and Precious Achua and Mitchell Robinson. He does not prioritize spacing in his lineups. It has been very clear from the jump. And guys are not willing to pull shots when they're open, and they're trying to use the space to get to hotter shots at the rim or patch shots in the mid range. And again, if this was a coach that was married to the idea of spacing and the idea to up a 3-point volume, I do think there would be more of a philosophical change. And there just has not been. I do think part of it has to do with the fact that like we just don't have much guys who take pull up threes, but also again, I do think philosophies matter, and the coach just does not have a philosophy built for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is, look, he does value corner threes. Like that's definitely true. I believe him when he says that. But like he doesn't care about volume. He does not
Yes,
care about volume. And I think the function, like the reality is, the volume they put up in the previous 3 seasons from three was personnel related and not Tibbs encouraging or prioritizing them to shoot threes. It was like, oh well, Dante is going to put up a bunch of threes because that's what Dante does. Quickly's going to put up a bunch of threes because that's what Quickly does.
and then
Grimes is going to
20,
put up threes because that's what he does.
22 23 with Randall basically shooting like 8 threes a game. Yeah, it just kind of seems like more the personnel is willing to kind of bend to the vision, and now that the personnel isn't as flexible, Tibbs is just kind of like, well, and that's just not how you coach.
Yep. Zoning permit says, wonder how much Herb Jones would cost since I'm officially done with this team build and this head coach. Yeah, I mean, I'm still of the opinion that making huge roster moves before seeing what this team looks like under a different coach would be a mistake, but one or the other is going to happen this offseason. I don't think that they're just going to bring back Tibbs and have largely the same pieces here. If they do, I think next year would get the vibes would be terrible right from the start. I would bet that. I would bet a lot of money, and I don't think Tibbs would last the season in that scenario. And look, I don't, barring some unforeseen outcome this year, I personally think it is time to move on from Tibbs, but we'll see what it is when we get to that point because we still have basketball to play. Whether you want to watch this team or not, they will still be playing basketball games.
Unfortunately.
John Leary says this is full on Copa. Maybe the week off with the playoffs, Hart will look better. I know he's had knee ailments. I think he will look better, but it's not just about like. To me, the issues are. I wish the issues were just like Josh Hart needs time off and he'll get rejuvenated and have better energy. Like there are just issues that are not going to be solved with Josh Hart having better energy, right? Like, we don't need to talk about that because we already know exactly what those are, right? If he's not going to shoot threes, then all right, what the fuck are we going to do, right? That's what it is. And if teams aren't going to honor him as a shooter, then okay, well that's what it is. I don't know how you. I don't think a week off solves that. I know you're not saying that, but yeah, I don't think a week off solves some of the fundamental issues that have reared their head with regard to Josh Hart this season.
Yeah. I'm hoping the time off kind of gives him enough like effort and energy to like get to the first round more than anything. And the fact that he doesn't have to play back to backs, but I mean he's also going to be going straight into like 40-minute games. So
yeah. John Larry, I know you've said this before, Schwinn. Look at the coaching staff; it's not very modern. A lot of old school coaches. Yeah, I mean they need to definitely, if they are going to keep Tibbs, like they've got to just be like, all right, dude, we're done with the Mo Cheeks of the world and all these guys that have been here forever. Like we need to get some new blood. And look, I mean, they basically need to do what the Grizzlies did with Taylor Jenkins if they keep him. But we saw how that ended. Like, I don't think you can just force a coaching revamp on Tibbs and it work wonderfully because that's just not the nature of the business. I think if that happens, it's kind of writing on the wall for Tibbs, and you're just delaying the inevitable. Zoning permit says another game where the best guard in the opposition goes off in the fourth, and our head coach stood there like it's none of his business. Enough of geriatric head coaches. Get me Dan Hurley. Yeah, I don't watch enough college ball to have strong thoughts about Dan Hurley, but the sentiment is correct. Like watching that fourth quarter was just, I was like, yep, I've seen this movie before. You know, like you're just again the point of like if you play drop for 48 minutes and like they basically this is what they did is they played drop and then guard wing guard any of those type of actions they switched. That's it. Like that's what they've done now for most of the season. We did see Cat hard hedging a bit more over the last few games when he's played. Aside from that, we haven't really ever seen anything different. So, I think again, when you play these elite teams, eventually, if you just keep throwing the same thing at them over and over and over again, they're going to figure it out. And that's been the case against all of these top teams this year, right? They figured it out over the course of 48 minutes, even if you get off to a good start. So, this is for a Tibbs quote. Jordan Bub posted this. Tibbs, this has to be changed quickly. Tibbs said the team isn't going into the postseason with any rhythm. Okay, well, I don't know how you're going to change anything without, changing anything. So,
do it again.
Right. It's just you got to do it. You got to execute better. Got to rebound harder. Got to compete harder. It's like I'm so tired of talking about like is the team competing as hard as like it's like I think there's more to what's going on than just like their effort level or their compete level or whatever. Like there are schematic things that's why you see the same things happen over and over again. Like they started, what they started doing actually at the end of the fourth quarter, which is kind of funny, is after the Cavs kind of got back in the lead, they started Strus was screening for Garland, and then they started kind of like trying to trap him a little bit. But their rotations behind that were non-existent. They didn't know what was happening, and Strus got 3 wide open looks eventually, and he cashed in 2 of those. The 2 basically ended the game, as far as I was concerned. So yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry. I just don't have a lot of energy for this because it's frustrating to kind of see the same shit over and over again.
I'm just gonna read some of these quotes. Tibbs, they got up 23, and you have to play 48 minutes in this league. We've got to be honest with ourselves. Tibbs, we got to get it fixed, and we got to get it fixed fast. Stefan Bondi asked, what needs to be fixed? Tibbs, everything. Got to play 40 minutes. Both sides of the ball. We have to get that urgency.
It's the same shit all the time, man. It's the same thing every single. Oh, gotta play 48 minutes. Oh, gotta fix this. Oh, gotta fix that. What do you do aside from telling them to do it harder? Like Tibbs is just the absolute Tibbs is just a capitalist to his core. Because there's no innovation, there's no change, there's no desire to do anything different or ethically. It's just do it better, do it faster, harder, better, faster, stronger. Just a fucking Daft Punk song. Like, dude, get out of my fucking face,
man. Rick James, what is up with the old man almost always playing the bench with Hart? I have no idea.
It was the honor of the fucking 90s because he just wants to play a bunch of non-shooters together and have Campaign and Landry Shaver fighting for their lives.
I don't know. Campaign today was hilariously bad. But I don't know the Josh Hart thing. I'll never get it. I don't get it. I do get it. He loves Josh Hart. It's that simple. Like he loves Josh Hart to the point where he overvalues the things he does well, regardless of the totality of his performance and the impact on the floor and how it fits with everybody else in the team. He views Josh Hart as like a guy who basically balances any lineup that he's in, and nothing will change his viewpoint on that. Like, again, I just don't know. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Like, I don't know what else to say there. Like, there's nothing else to say. Josh Hart will always play. Josh Hart will always close games, regardless of what he does, because Tibbs trusts him. That's it. Like, Tibbs trusts him, and he will always bet that Josh will figure it out. Josh will figure it out. Josh will make the right play when he needs to make the right play. That's the underlying belief of everything he does. So, yeah. Jared R says Tibbs is why I need therapy.
Give me like 5 years and I got you.
Yeah.
One more degree, baby.
Let's go. Let's go. Um, sorry. Zoning permit. The decent teams that Knicks beat 2-0, Memphis, Denver, Sacramento, all sacked their coaches. I agree. That's something worth bringing up. Like, look, I want to just say this. I would not. I know that there are people that are like, oh well, Denver and Memphis fired their coaches late in the season. We should do it too. I think that was stupid for them to do it this late in the season. There's no benefit to it, as far as I'm concerned. The benefits you're going to get are very, very minor, and you're not even giving the interim guy a legitimate sample size to evaluate. So I would not advocate for it. And I think it's a shitty thing. That said, the fact that look, be real about like Denver fired a coach who won a fucking championship. Like that is a thing that happened. And not just he's gone to a Western Conference Finals, right? In 2020 in the bubble. They've they won, they get out of the first round basically every year. And they fired that guy with what, 4 games left in the season or where the hell it was? Like that's no coach in this league should be viewed as irreplaceable, I guess, basically. And if you are viewed that way, you should have a list of accolades that go beyond like made the Knicks not a joke again, got the Knicks to the playoffs, whatever, 4 out of 5 years, won 50 games 2 years in a row. Like those aren't that to me is not a meaningful standard to judge Tibbs by anymore, or any coach that coaches this roster, quite frankly. Like, because we know this, right? If you fire Tibbs, let's say they fire Tibbs, new guy comes in, and it's basically the same thing that we saw this year. We would all be like, fire this guy, right? We wouldn't be like, oh, well, we sucked for a long time, for like 2 decades. We shouldn't be so hasty. Like, no, we want that guy fired, and I think we'd be justified to feel that way. I don't know. AEI says Tibbs treats Josh Hart like he's the coach's son. I guess he certainly does. Omar Yusuf, out on this team from the coach to this collection of players, stale approach, no pride, backbone, or edge to the team. Leon has to make some tough decisions this offseason. Yeah, look, I'll go as far as to say this. I think if they choose to keep Tibbs, right? I think you have to trade Josh Hart this offseason. I'm not even joking about that. Like, I think you have to trade Josh Hart because he will never use him appropriately. And then think of this, like, is that actually reasonable? Like, now we're trading guys. Like we talked about this before. Every year we've had some discussion, right? Of like, well, if we can trade this guy, then the rotation will, then you got to save Tibbs from himself. Okay, you can't operate like that. You're sabotaging yourself. Like it's not a functional way to operate. And look, man, they've given Tibbs plenty of talent to work with, right? Like this is the way I look at it. In 2021-22, after that season, what was said, right? Well, can't really blame Tibbs because they don't have a point guard, they don't have a true floor general or whatever. Okay, they got Jalen Brunson, who has vastly outperformed expectations. He's an all-star. He'll be all-NBA this season again for the second time in 3 years. So they got him an elite point guard. Okay. Then it was, team's too small. Team's too small. We need wings. We need wings to match up with, the best teams in the league. Okay. They got Josh Hart. They got OG Anunoby. They got Mikal Bridges. Now, whatever you think about specifically OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, those two guys were basically viewed as like the elite, potentially available two-way wing players for a good couple of years. And the Knicks got both those guys. And we know Tibbs wanted both those guys. They got him that. Okay. Well, that's great, but, how can you expect him? We need a 5-out option. We don't have that. Okay. You get Karl-Anthony Towns. And then now you have Towns. It's, oh, well, the defense sucks. How can you do anything? Karl-Anthony Towns is such a bad There's always an excuse for why the personnel isn't good enough to do X or Y or Z. you're the coach. The coach has to adapt to his personnel, and it is up to him to maximize the collection of roster talent he has. His job is not to be married to his scheme, his way of doing things, and everybody else has to everybody else has to adjust to that, right? Coaching isn't, jamming square pegs into round holes. That's not what coaching is. I'm sorry. Like, if every fucking time there's some issue, right, that crops up, it always just boils down to, well, you need to get him this thing, you need to get it. Look, man, I'll just say this. Mitchell Robinson is healthy now. He looked really good tonight, by the way. I thought he was great tonight.
Yes.
Probably the best Nick on the floor. You have everything now, okay? You've got wings. You got a big wing in OG Anunoby, right, that can genuinely play the four. You've got a rim protector in Mitchell Robinson, a high-level rim protector, and a high-level offensive rebounder in Mitchell Robinson. You have a floor spacing five. You have, with Cat and Mitch healthy, you have the ability to play big, right, and play jumbo lineups in the front court. You have an elite all-NBA point guard. You have what should be a team that maybe they don't have the horses to play Boston, but you should be competitive in a damn series against them. And you should be beating a team like Detroit, who, great regular season, personally do not buy this team as having the offensive capabilities that they should be competitive in a series with the Knicks. But I expect that series to be competitive, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, it wouldn't completely shock me if the Knicks lost that series at all. And then, as we talked about, I have no faith in them being competitive against Boston. And at that point, I'm sorry, it's not about personnel to me. Because I'm not asking him to beat Boston. I've never once this season wavered on that. I've never thought this team had the horses to beat Boston in a 7-game series. But you can look competitive. Like, that game on Tuesday, that's how all of these games should be. It shouldn't be like we have to wait until the fucking 80th, forever, the 79th, 80th game of the fucking season to get that type of effort against a high-level opponent, a high-level conference opponent in Boston, division rival. That should be what every one of those games feels like and looks like. And if it did, yeah, we'd probably still be frustrated they didn't get over the hump. But I guarantee you we'd feel differently about this team. But it hasn't. And they have not been able to close the deal against any of these teams, right? They were up against the Lakers, blew that game. They're up big today against the Cavs, blew that game. They were up against the Cavs, 11, 12 points in the first
15.
game, in the first matchup? No, in the first time we played that.
Oh, first time it was, yes, 12.
Yeah, they blew that. They were up 15 the last time, and yeah, I know they were shorthanded. They blew that. I mean, they weren't even close in that game. It was a 19-point victory for the Cavs that time. Like, they haven't been close. And they have always, like, the guy talks about it's a 48-minute game. It is a 48-minute game. And over 48 minutes, you really, at some point in those 48 minutes, your opponent has figured you out, has ruthlessly exposed kind of like the gaps in your scheme. And every scheme has gaps, by the way, right? Every scheme has gaps, which is why you need to be able to be versatile and flexible from a tactical perspective. And Tibbs is not that. And that gets found out. So, yeah, I don't know. Rick James, Tibbs only changes when he's forced to, but then reverts back to his old self. Really tired of this coach and his podcaster defenders. I'm very sick of Tibbs, and I'm sick of, like, every conversation we have about the roster is through the lens of, like,
he gave us 50 wins.
Yeah, but even, like, just think about the way we talk about players and stuff. It's like all through the lens of Tibbs, right? It's like if you just say, look, I think we should start Deuce McBride over Josh Hart because the lineups, the numbers are really good and he gives us a point of attack defender and whatever, right? You can say all these things, right? Oh, they honor him from three. And immediately there'll be people that are just like, not big enough, can't beat Boston like that. And I'm like, are we only playing Boston? And also, like, can we just find out for sure? Because I know with Josh Hart, even if the size matchup is better, we can't beat them. So can we just, like, see it? I just want to see it once with, like, can we just get more minutes of that? And again, I'm not trying to make this like a Deuce McBride has to start thing. I'm just kind of pointing out, like, can you just try shit? and see. And also the goal isn't like the goal is not to play it's not to match size, right? That's not the goal. The goal is to play your best lineups, your most effective lineups. And for whatever the reason, the lineups with Deuce and 2 of the wings has been better than any of the lineups with all 3 of the wings. Now, why that's the case, we've talked about it a lot. I've talked about it a lot. Best point of attack defender, frees up your wings to do more roamy wing stuff. Obviously gives you a better spacer than Josh Hart when he plays, in Josh Hartless lineups. But like, we're not gonna seriously see that in the playoffs. We're not going to. So whatever. I don't know. Rick James, not calling you guys Tibbs defenders, of course, so I come here after games. Thank you. Jordan Bubb, Tibbs is probably getting fired this year, isn't he? So let's get a head start on this. Who do you want as the next head coach of the Knicks? You have any thoughts on this, Tyrese?
No. I don't know coaches well enough to have opinions. I'll throw my hat in for Dice Yoshimoto.
Nice. I would seriously think that Josh Hart is not Josh Hart. Johnny Bryant. I've just been talking about Josh Hart so much. My brain defaults to that. Johnny Bryant should be obviously a name that they consider if they do move on from Tibbs. But what I would say is bring me a nerd. Bring me a nerd. Bring me somebody who is going to try shit. I don't want another coach who is like, I do things this way and this is how everything will work.
We need a neurodivergent nerd to take us to the next level. We need another Missoula, JJ Redick, one of those guys who are just like absolutely 100% on the spectrum,
and are just like studying cleaning the glass
on the second spectrum and autism spectrum. I want my coach on multiple spectrums.
Zoning for the McCallum cat trade might have unironically closed our window. Sucks, but it will be a miracle to turn this around with the same group, regardless of head coach. Yeah,
they were never going to run the team back. Let it go. Let it go.
I don't know that he's suggesting they should have run it back. But I think the main thing is Hartenstein left, right? So like that just changes everything. And what I will say, I'm just not as down on this group of talent as a lot of people are, and I understand why people are. I think they need a new coach, and I want to see what this group can do under a different coach who will be more creative, who will simply not view Josh Hart as like a sacred cow and be more willing to mix and match lineups and try different things and not have set substitution patterns that he follows like, it's like a constitutional amendment. Although, as we now know, maybe constitutional amendments don't matter as much nowadays. But like, yeah, I just want to see this group with a different guy in charge that is more willing to try different things and deploy the talent in different ways on both sides of the ball, not just offensively, defensively as well. Could we? Can we just try a fucking zone once? Can we just like spring a zone out there once? Is that possible? I would like to see it. That'd be cool. I think it would be a mind fuck for opponents because opponents probably don't even consider it, right? They're probably like, oh, we're playing the Knicks. Yeah, they're not going to do anything else other than what they do. So there's nothing, it's kind of like, it's funny. I think, who was it? We played the Pistons earlier this season. And it was funny because it took until like the end of the fourth quarter for the Knicks to just be like, oh, you know what? Asar Thompson's out here. Let's just not defend him. Let's just leave him open and treat him like the non-shooter he is. And I'm like, why did it take you 4 quarters to do this? I don't know if you remember this. There was a game last year against Dallas. This was in January where they played Dallas without Luka. Luka was out. And they spent the entire game playing drop, right? Playing drop. And Dallas was, they were on fire. They were killing them. And finally, in the fourth quarter, finally they started like trapping Kyrie and forcing the ball out of his hands. They closed the gap and they almost came back and won the game. But it was like, why why did you wait 3 quarters to be like, oh man, they only have one guy that can fucking create. Let's get the ball out of his hands. It's just shit like that you see all the time, and I'll never get it. And it's just so obvious that it's like you just run the scheme and it's not opponent specific frequently enough.
Yeah.
David Goodman says a new head coach can work wonders. Cleveland looked mediocre last year. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'll let you read this one, Tyrese.
Josh Hart talks about how the Knicks can turn things around as they head towards the playoffs. We're not playing close to our best basketball. Shocker! Oh my God. Josh Hart with the revelation of the century. The Knicks are not playing good basketball right now. Josh Hart, ever the social commentary on the Knicks. That's what I expect from my favorite NFTer.
Yeah, I don't know. Josh needs to look in the mirror. Honestly, like I love Josh, and you know me and you talked earlier on this very post game about how like Tibbs is not doing him any favors, but I would really like him to look in the fucking mirror, like because he says a lot of the right things, and then I'm like, it's you, like you are not playing at the necessary level. You are not taking shots that you need to take. Like you're playing like a gigantic asshole at times. And yeah, I don't know, man. That's such a it's like maybe the right message, definitely the wrong messenger. Oh my God, here we go. This is from James Edwards. Jordan Bub posts this again. Josh Hart said this team needs to prepare mentally as much as physically this coming week. Wants to end the regular season strong. Our character will be tested in a week.
Josh Hart will be quoting scriptures by the third game.
What are we doing? We want to close the regular season strong. Like, I don't want you to fucking play against the fucking Nets, dude. Against tryhard Yordi Fernandez, who treats every game against the Knicks like it's like fucking the Super Bowl or something. Like, no, I don't want to see any of these guys play at all in that game. I really don't. There we go. The players are bought in. I think that's hard to quantify, and there's no guarantee that a better coach will have buy-in. But I think it may be time.
I don't think the players are bought in at all. I think the players are checked out more than anything. I think Jalen Brunson likes Tom Thibodeau. I think Josh Hart likes Tom Thibodeau. I don't think they're bought in at all.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I think they're good professionals. Like I don't think any of these guys is going to give you some nuclear quote. Like the quote that we got from Mikal was pretty, the one that everybody freaked out about. Like that was fairly benign as far as like player coach drama in the NBA goes. But I don't know. Actually, Josh Hart had an interesting quote after they played Boston. They asked him about that last possession, right? The Tatum game tying 3 at the end of regulation. And he was like, he mentioned how he was like, yeah, players and coaches, like we need to get on the same page. We need to be like, we need to, like, he basically was saying like they weren't on the same page. They didn't know what the plan was. And I just thought it was very interesting that he brought up the coaching staff because he usually just says like, we need to do better. The players got to be better. I find that I found that a little interesting. I banked that one away in the back of my head. I thought that was an interesting comment.
I think if the news does happen, I expect a lot of leaks. I will say that much. I expect a lot of leak if it does happen. If the second tower hits, I expect a lot of leaking. I expect a lot of like towards the end the team was checked out. There's going to be a lot of information that comes out, in my opinion. The Iron Curtain will fall.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They haven't really done that with anybody who's left. Maybe that'll change with Hart. But like even with Randall, we got nothing. Like I thought you were going to get something, and it was just like there's literally nothing that came out. It was just like, yep, we did a trade. It's like, oh, okay, not getting anything, huh? But yeah, maybe it'll change. Hopefully, it'll be interesting to get a look behind the curtain. Retro, the best word to describe this team is uninspiring. They are gutless. They don't really give a shit, all while not being optimized by a geriatric coach. I think the not being optimized is bleeding into that stuff. Like, again, I just don't know how I would feel in the locker room if I'm, especially like in a game like tonight, right? If I'm Landry Shaman or I'm Deuce McBride, I'm probably sitting in that locker room. I'm like, if I'm not going to get a chance to close tonight, then like, when am I ever going to get a chance? Like, am I ever? I'm never going to get a chance to close. There's nothing I can do to earn a bigger spot on this roster, and meanwhile, Josh Hart can do anything, and his role stays exactly the same. Like, I don't think these guys dislike each other. I don't think they have any beef like that. But this is like normal workplace stuff, right? Where you're like, this guy works like he's not doing a good job. I'm doing a good job, but it never matters because he keeps getting like promoted or whatever. He keeps getting a bonus. I don't. Um, it's I don't know how that plays out. I'm not in the locker room, so I obviously can't speak to that. But I can't imagine everybody in that locker room is super happy with how everything is going right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think like everybody just enjoys each other. I think everybody obviously enjoys each other, but I think you do have to think about the idea of like guys not really being happy about like their roles and how everything fits together right now.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I'm trying to get to as many of these as I can. This is good. John Larry, serious question. Why does the media mostly not ask Tibbs about his non-spacing lineups or lack of diverse rotations, etc.?
Because we need quotes for clickbait articles, and Stefan Bondi is a respected journalist that we should respect, and there are other guys on the beat that take their crap very seriously and totally are going to use their media access to actually ask the hard hitting questions that journalism allows you the opportunity to, instead of writing about how the Knicks and Detroit are ducking each other and how the and there are beat writers that used to write for Detroit and now write for the Knicks and seem like they're having an existential crisis about writing for the Knicks, and they just kind of go through their writing. Yeah, I don't. The beat is very silly. Unless your name is CP the franchise or Chris Persianen, the beat is very silly.
We're calling CP the franchise. He's on the beat now.
CP the franchise might as well be the goddamn like who's the dude who like figured out Watergate and shit? I forget his name, but like CP compared to like any other guy on the beat is legitimately out here like doing Sherlock Holmes shit.
Dude, CP tweeted like he's like, yeah, the Knicks are going to be resting guys like on and off through the rest of the regular season, and like 2 minutes after he tweeted that, it was like OG, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson all not play against Detroit. I was like, damn.
CP is out here Oppenheimer bombing and watching it drop. It's like CP from like this summer onward has been on a roll. Like it's been a heater. It's legitimately just been like 40-foot heat check and splash. Like shout out to CP.
Yeah,
And Chris. Shout out to our young friend Chris.
Yeah, they've been cooking. They've been cooking. Brian Benjamin asks, "Is this the most important postseason for the team in 5 years?"
Yes, because it again like it's Tibbs' job, so it matters.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Christian Winfield. This is from Jalen Brunson. I want to win Sunday. Plain and simple. Great. Do you think the Knicks can beat the Nets? Yeah, of course they can. Do I want them to? Do I care if they do? Not particularly. No. Jalen Brunson was asked what specifically the Knicks need to fix after Tom Thibodeau's post-game comments. Everything that you guys see and we see, we've got to fix that. All right, great to say.
Captain.
Great to hear. I mean, I know people get upset with these quotes, and like I just don't even know what he's not going to say anything controversial. That's just never like that. He's not that guy. It's never going to happen. Q. Tim's whole style of basketball, both offensively and defensively, are antiquated. Volume has lowered the value of the corner three. Yeah, I agree. And it's why like it's good that he understands the value of the corner three because that's been evident for like multiple decades now that the corner three is valuable. But yeah, I it's hard to like not agree with the whole like antiquated piece of it just because I don't know. Like I watch OKC, I watch Boston, I watch Cleveland. You watch, I think those three are the best teams in the league right now. If you want to throw the Lakers in there, go for it. I mean, even a team like the Rockets, like you just watch them and you're like, well, they try shit on like they try shit. And this is not to say those teams are perfect. Like Houston is a terrible half court offense, for example, right? But like they try things. Like the Şengün Adams thing. At first, I was kind of like, not just me, but like many people, like most people were like, that's probably not going to work. But I guess you give it a shot. But like he gave it a shot, and it's been great for them. And it's like that's the value of trying things. That's the value right there. Try things like people like I remember 2 years ago, right? There's that period where we had some injuries, so he used to do this like insane double big lineup of like Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein, and obviously that didn't work great. But I didn't really have a problem with him trying it because I was like, all right, let's just see. Maybe you can just bully ball your way into a functional, 5 or 6 minute stint with those guys. This year there's been no trying of anything. Like the only thing that he's tried for whatever reason is Precious for way too many minutes at the 4 or the 5 or in any role really. And it hasn't worked, but like I don't mind him initially trying it. It's just like, can you stop now? And then since Mitch has come back, I just feel like I understand there's some limitations in what he can do because Mitch is, or at least was, I don't think he is anymore, was on a minutes limit. But like the lack of minutes for Cat and Mitch together has been really frustrating, and it's especially frustrating because it feels like that they're pretty effective together. I mean, against Boston, I thought those minutes were really good for us when they played together. So when you just don't see much of it, and again, I understand that it's not always been available to him for a variety of reasons, but those are the things that are frustrating to me, and kind of to that point, like that's why it was annoying to me to not give Huck 40 a chance earlier in the like a consistent chance earlier in the season because stylistically he's the closest big on the roster to Mitchell Robinson, right? Like in terms of offensive like rebounding, right? His natural kind of skills as a rim protector. And to not ever try it, and then when he did play, I think he played like maybe 1 minute, like literally 1 minute with Cat next to Cat. And I don't know. I thought that was pretty weird. And that's kind of the stuff that is like gets to the heart of not trying things.
Yeah. It's just been very, very uninspiring coaching. Very paint by numbers.
Yes. Edsel Mercado asked me, Schwinn, what do you think of Man United's chances versus Lyon in the second leg? I think they should win, but they can't score goals very effectively because their striker is a terrorist. So it will be interesting. Hopefully they win. That would be nice.
That would be nice as a very casual Man U fan. I like when we win, and we don't win a lot. So
JL yeah. JL says Detroit since January 1st, 5.5 net rating 6th. Knicks since January 1st, 1.1 net rating 15th. Pistons have a better offense and defense during the stretch. Yep.
Well,
Yep. This is why I have not understood why there are so many Knicks fans that are like, oh, we're gonna wipe the floor with these guys. And it's not because I don't think this team is capable of it. They haven't played like that for a long time, and Detroit is genuinely playing good. I know they lost tonight, but like they've played well for an extended period of time now, and better than the Knicks for an extended period of time now. Seems to like, seems to be relevant, right? In a lot of ways, I hate bringing this up because the parallels are so funny, but like it feels a little like when we played the Cavs in 2023, because the overall sample for the Knicks was a little bit deceiving because after they made the rotation change, they were like I think they had like a top 5 or something net rating in the league. And the Cavs had kind of like, fallen off through the end of towards the end of the season. And also, we played them right at the end of that season and we beat them on their home floor. We played Detroit at the very end of the season and they beat us. So I don't know, some food for thought. Not looking forward to that series. Gonna say that much. Rick James. Someone here said I was crazy for suggesting we should trade Josh Hart. We won't have much money on the apron to sign a decent player, and Hart makes $20 million. I mean, if you trade him, you're not just gonna trade him to like salary dump him effectively.
I don't think you're gonna like if Tibbs isn't coaching the roster. I don't see a point in trading Hart because again, I think Hart as your third wing is like fine compared to like other third wings across the league. He's fine. He just needs to be used properly instead of being played 38 minutes a night for whole halves at points and being treated like he's fucking mini Luka. Like, I don't think he's a significantly different player than like a lot of the third wings on contending teams. He's just as good as those guys. It's just he's being overextended and he's being asked to do things that most stars don't even do. It's like, oh, hey, can you initiate offense, also play defense, also play this insane workload, but also be able to like carry bench units? It's just like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm open to trading anybody on this roster other than Brunson. So if it was me that said you were crazy, I apologize. I don't know if I was. Maybe I was.
I'm not trading Pacome Daddy for God, by the way.
Yeah, him and Brunson are untouchables. But like, I'm not opposed to them trading anybody in this roster other than Brunson, really. But I don't think trading. I don't think any trade will be made or should be made for like salary cutting purposes or simply to give us a little bit more flexibility or whatever. Like they need to, if they trade out talent, it should be to get in a piece that you like better than what you have. But yeah. Poxter says 27th and 3-point attempts. Don't think this was the vision the front office had.
Yep. Not good. Not good.
Yeah, not great. Josh Hart on Pistons in the first round. Gotta not just match their physicality, but exceed it. Shut up, man. Like, I'll just say, like, all right, look, I've given Josh Hart plenty of grace. I will say this. He's had quotes throughout the year that are like,
reeking of loser energy.
But like very specifically, they reek of like the regular season is beneath me energy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who are you? And what did you do with Josh Hart? Because that's how this team has played at times, right? Where it's like, got another game tonight. But yeah, there's just like there's been that kind of mentality from him all season. And then, I don't know, there's just like such a lack of joy with how they play this season that is palpable. It's the only thing that's the only way I can really put it. Like
that's what Tom Thibodeau does to people. Takes the joy out of it.
Yeah, I mean, winning is more fun than fun is fun. Good quote, and not wrong. But like, you won 50 games, and people seem miserable. Something is off there. Something's not great. Josh Hart and the Knicks now. We are not playing close to our best. Got to prepare mentally and physically. Got to find what makes this team successful. Work on that. Playoff basketball is a different level. Okay. I have an idea of some things that could make this team successful. Not sure you would be thrilled with them, Josh. Zoning permit. Tibbs has lowered the expectations so much so we can honestly say they will beat Detroit, a team playing career droppers like Tobias Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley. Honestly, an achievement.
That's why I think the Knicks are going to win, because it's Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley on the other side. I swear, if this series goes to like 6 or 7, I'll be pissed.
Yeah. I will again. I'm all respect to Detroit. They've had a great season, but like the Knicks should be dominating a series against this team, and if they don't, that's very very concerning. And I think that would be if they're not dominating a series against Detroit. I struggle to see how that wouldn't be very strongly correlated with Tibbs's performance as a coach. I don't think it'll just be like, well, guys couldn't make shots. I think it'll be much beyond that. HB Greg, JB saying we have everything we need in this locker room to win. Low key was dissing Tibbs. What are your thoughts?
That's just Brunson. Brunson is a Brunson is a Republican, so that's all he's gonna say. It's just platitudes and phrases that galvanize people in the best way possible.
Yeah. Whether, obviously I don't think he intentionally said it as a criticism of Tibbs, but like they've all said that, right? Like Brunson has said that, Kat said that, Hart said that, various guys have said that. And if that's the case, then I don't know, is this actually a good enough then we should be able to hold Tibbs to a higher standard than like, well, 50 wins is good, and what do you really want him to do other than, what more can he do with this roster? It's like, I don't know. Could he make them look like they look the best thing I could say about the roster last year or the team last year was they were greater than the sum of their parts, obviously, as they got more and more injured, but they like were able to fight through and battle and whatever. This year's team feels very much less than the sum of their parts. And that is a reflection on the performance of Tibbs as the head coach.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, trying to get here. JL, I'm so fucking hyped for game one when Cat has 3 fouls in the first quarter and Josh passes up 4 wide open threes.
That's good. That's good. God, it's funny because it's true.
Yeah. Yep. As an aside, we need our active players to be podcasting twice a week. They can do that once they're retired. Gotta hate Paul George for starting this annoying trend. Do you care about the podcast thing? I don't know. I had mixed thoughts about it.
As a fellow podcaster, I really don't care about them podcasting. It's like they're gonna play video games or whatever. Like it doesn't really matter. It's just whatever they want to do. Make some money. They're just talking the way they normally talk. Like it really isn't that deep. Like athletes are not robots who just are in the gym for 16 hours a day and then sleep the other 8.
Yeah, I don't. To me, I don't care that they do a podcast. I do think at times it's like, read the room, bro. Like, there are times where I'm like, I don't know if we need an episode this week, guys. Maybe keep that one for the off season. I really don't want playoff episodes, man. I really don't want playoff episodes. Like, please save that shit for the regular season at least.
They did it last year, so.
They did it in between rounds, though, right? I don't think they actually did it during
like in between rounds. So I think they're
That's
probably
fine.
record. They're like record, and then they're like record between the first and the second round if they make it there.
Well, either way, they'll be recording after the first round. I think is the best way to view it. Poxter, why is Josh out there for that long? The entire 4 months before our season started, I thought he was going to be our 6th, 7th man when fully healthy. Yeah, I wish I could give you an answer. That precious Josh Shamit Cam lineup cannot be real.
Shamit did his part.
I just thought it was so funny that he went back to it in the second half. I was like, really? We're going to do this again? Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm getting into this. Malone could be a great lead/assistant if he doesn't get a head coaching offer. I doubt he's going to take an assistant job. Maybe I'm wrong, but usually guys that have won championships are not going to take that. He's still getting paid, so he doesn't even need to work.
Yeah,
He's on contract for the next 2 years.
he's got a contract. He's got a ring. My man is chilling, living his life, and he's probably gonna get the job in San Antonio if it opens up.
Yeah.
So I'll see him at HEB.
Yeah. This is from Kid Kuro. I streamed these last games as a test to see why we should keep Tibbs, and he literally showed me all the reasons why we shouldn't. Why he shouldn't. When it comes down to winning on the margins, he's not doing it. I just needed to see one win this season against the Celtics and Cavs. We could have and probably should have won these games, even if they're meaningless. Show something that instills faith. Nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Like again, I said it before on last podcast. Like if you went 3-7, sure. 2-8, okay. The fact that you went 0-10 is just so disheartening. It's incredibly disheartening.
And most of the games weren't competitive. Right? Like they weren't competitive games, which makes it even worse. Edsel Mercado, Tibbs takes the joy out of sex.
Would not know how that feels. Totally. Totally. Nope. I don't have any opinions. So
congrats on the sex, Edsel. Kid Kuro, would it be wise to double down on Bridges? We give up 5 first-round picks from the third option, maybe second option. He's made it clear that he's a fourth. 5 picks and an extension for that, underwhelming. I think you have to extend him. If you're not going to extend him, you have to trade him. Those are only 2 options you have.
And you aren't getting anything for trading him because he makes $24 million.
Like the only thing you could trade him for picks, probably, but you're not going to get. You're 2 of those are already out the door after this season, right? So
yeah,
you're not going to get 3 picks back for him in all likelihood on an expiring contract. If you were, maybe that's worth it, but then you have to turn those picks into something else. Like I don't know, it's a lot going on there. I'm not sure any of it is smart, but yeah,
he's worth the salary that they give him, and he's a rotation player who can win ball games. So
yes,
that's all he has to do.
I also, again, I would like to see him with a different coach, just like most of this team. I don't think this Pistons team is in the same class as the Cavs or Sixers teams we beat, but I don't have the confidence I had in those series.
That's fair.
Yes, I concur with that. Poxter, I know the narrative on this team has been that we can't compete with the best, but there's been moments where we've been up big on elite teams. Why does this team and coach just collapse?
I mean, I think just column A, column B. Like, they haven't necessarily played the best games, and then they've also just had brain farts. The personnel has been maximized. It's a lot of different factors, unfortunately.
I think the main reason is, again, games are 48 minutes. Teams adjust in game. Once they get a beat on, okay, this is what they're doing, kind of get that rhythm, see how the Knicks are defending things, they are able to adjust, and the Knicks don't counter. They've not countered very well at all, and it is what it is. I mean, I think it was telling that the first game against OKC was very competitive. They were able to obviously pull away down the stretch of the fourth quarter, but I came away from that game actually feeling pretty good about the Knicks. I was like, okay, like OKC's really good, and this was a game that was very competitive, and they have better depth than us, and I think that showed. You played them again a week later, literally exactly a week later. So you kind of see them in quick succession. Makes it, gives it a feel of like a playoff series in a sense. And the second game was, that was a joke from the start. That game was over right at the tip. And that is telling to me. Also, we played the Celtics in quick succession, if I'm not mistaken. The second and third times we played them. And similar type of thing happened, right? They smoked us both times, obviously, but when teams kind of understand what you are and have a read on you, then that's what happens. HP Greg, Hart equals Park Ji-sung Man United, and that's actually a good comparison because Park was used very specifically in very specific roles tactically, not as a forever starter. So maybe Tom Thibodeau can study the beautiful game this offseason. That'll be nice. Kid Kuro, 50 wins in 2 consecutive years is nice, but if we finish 50 and 32 in back-to-back seasons, just doesn't feel all that good. We made these big trades to finish the same way we did last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
JL, the roommate show. explaining why we've got swept by the Celtics. Average margin of victory, 25 points.
That might be the most depressing pod in history. And I will be listening to I'll listen to the fucking ads.
Dude, they put their ads in at the weirdest places. It's so ridiculous.
It's not a good driving podcast. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. John Leary, is Dame playing in the playoffs?
And I'm not sure. I haven't heard
I hope
anything.
he doesn't. I don't. I think it's a huge health risk, and he should not do it.
Yeah. If they were playing against us, I'd be more like, yes, do it. But no.
Park Ji-sung was supposed to be the Messi stopper, said by Sir Alex a couple of years ago. Wonder if Josh can do the basketball equivalent of that. Laughing my ass off. I don't know that I would put Josh Hart on the equivalent of Messi in the NBA. Look. I'm being serious. This if we can just close here because I think we've gotten to every comment or as many comments as we can. Like this is Josh Hart is like a good reflection of the team in a lot of ways. I think he is like the voice of the team, and I think he's the soul of the team. Like he needs I agree, and I think Tyrese agrees too that look the Knicks, they have like serious schematic issues for sure, and those are things that can't be fixed in a week. Like they're not going to come out against Detroit and all of a sudden have all these wonderful counters and different schemes on both sides of the ball. It's not going to happen. But I need him to shut the fuck up for a week, do some serious self-reflection, maybe go watch tape of his from last year, the year before, and like where is that guy? Because that guy has not been here for like literally the last 2 months at all. I don't see you get glimpses every now and then, stretches, flashes, but that guy has not been there. And in the middle of the season in January, where the Knicks kind of I thought when they really started to struggle with execution, especially offensively, Brunson and Cat bailed them out a lot. Bailed them out with just individual greatness, really. That game against the Hawks, the last game before All-Star break, I thought was like a disaster for most guys, and Josh was terrible in that game. But Brunson bailed them out, right? He was fantastic on the stretch. He bails them out, wins the game for them. But these guys really have to self-reflect and think about what it is that they need to do, because we can sit and talk about the scheme and Tibbs' substitution patterns and whatever, but there have been too many times this season where when another team throws a punch, they don't respond or it takes way too long for them to respond. And that's not just Josh. That's the group. That's the team. So, they're really talented. And I do think some of the stuff, in terms of this lack of spirit stems from a lot of coaching, Tibbs related things. But, these guys are paid professional players. They're talented NBA starters. And we have multiple All-Stars. We have whatever. You have guys that have been highly recognized and valued around the league on this team. And at some point they need to come together as a collective group and have some fuck you to them. They're where is that? There needs to be a little bit more willingness to mix it up. I don't think this team is going to be, we knew the team changed fundamentally over the offseason, right? They made some huge changes. We knew things were going to be different. And I don't expect them to be some grinded out fucking roughhouse team or something, but you've got to be able to withstand punches better than they have this year. And in some ways, maybe playing a team like Detroit is good for them, because Detroit, for whatever they lack, their compete level is extremely high, and it has been high all season. If you want to win that series, you're going to have to fucking take it. They're not going to roll over for you. They're not going to come into that series like they're playing with house money. You know what I mean? Like this team is they're playing with house money. This is a wildly successful season for Detroit. If they get swept by the Knicks in 4 games, it's a wildly successful season for them. It makes them dangerous. The Knicks need to be able to match that, and they've got to take their shit seriously. And it cannot be like one of these games we've seen too often, right? Where the first fucking 3 quarters of it, Josh is like, fucking space cadetting out there, and nobody's really putting in a ton of effort, in terms of fighting over screens and calling out coverages and communicating and all these things. So they've got a lot to figure out in a week. Can they figure it all out? No, they're not going to again come up with some huge tactical shift that changes things, but they can go somewhere and figure out like, hey, like let's lock in here. Let's be fucking more physical. Let's just let's be professional. Let's take this seriously. So hopefully the playoff focus for them, the playoffs heightens their focus, and that we'll see kind of what we hope to see. But right now, I don't feel optimistic because I just haven't seen it from this group in a long time.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair evaluation. I just want to see this team play to the level that I think a lot of them can play to, and I don't know if that'll happen this. I don't know if that'll happen this playoffs, but if they can at least show competency in terms of coaching, in terms of lineups, in terms of rotation and everything, I feel better. But yeah, not really too encouraged.
Yeah. All right. Thank you to everybody that was joining us for the stream. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate it. Tyrese, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Nothing. Just want to plug my Twitter account. At IQ for 3. I make the best fan cams on Twitter. My Knicks fan cams go viral all the time. Very, very big passion project for me. Really enjoy it. Yeah, so support me at IQ for 3 on Twitter.
Yeah. Give Teg a follow, not Tyrese. I'm nothing to plug, so I will plug all the work at Strickland. Check it out. I dropped a pod on Friday with at Doug Burns. He does all the musical recaps on his Twitter account. Thought that was a fun conversation, and I'm looking forward to his musical recap of tonight's game. I'm sure it'll be a doozy. All right, that is our show for today. Again, thank you for everybody in the comments, and we'll be back on Sunday. I will not be on that live stream, but somebody will be here doing this. All right, peace.